Welcome back to Down to Ride MTB and welcome new viewers. As you can see, I'm at the beach, which is a little bit different for this channel because usually I focus on mountain biking, but we still have something cool bike related to talk about, and that is this new bike. All right, so I'm kicking off my beach vacation with a brand new bike. Really doesn't get much better than that. And it's not just any bike, it is the Nakto Cruiser, which represents two things that have never been featured on this channel and things that I've never experienced before. First of all, it's an electric bike, and you know, e-bikes are kind of the way things are going nowadays. It's probably the way of the future. So this will be my first e-bike. And secondly, it's a fat tire bike. It's got big 4-inch wide tires, which I think will be perfect for cruising on the sand. So let's get this thing into the shade, take it out of the box, put it together, and then go have some fun. The Nakto Cruiser is an affordable e-bike with a price point of $999. We're going to do an unboxing and a full assembly of this bike before riding, and the good news is it really isn't any more complicated than assembling a normal bike. I thought it was pretty cool that they have some info on the outside of the box showing what tools you'll need, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out that they even included those tools inside the box. Before we get too much further, I do want to mention that Nakto contacted me to review this bike. They have sent it to me free of charge and I do get to keep it. However, they are not telling me what to say or anything like that. These are all my own thoughts, my own opinions on this bike. And you probably will have seen at the beginning of this video a little icon that said includes paid promotion. In the eyes of YouTube, sending a product to somebody to review is a form of payment, so that's why you saw that there. Getting the bike out of the box is a two-man job because it is pretty heavy, unless you have the presence of mind to simply cut one side of the box open, which clearly I did not. Like most bikes shipped in a box, the front wheel is not installed. You can see that this bike features disc brakes. They have 160mm rotors front and back and are mechanically operated. Everything was packed and protected well and arrived in flawless condition, which can't be said for every bike that I have unboxed. As you can see, this bike has massive 4-inch wide tires. They're unbranded, but the rubber compound feels nice and tacky, and they have a good tread pattern, which seems like it would hold its own on more than just pavement. I chose to put the bars on first, which is a simple task of removing the top cap, sliding on the bars and stem, and reinstalling the top cap. I'm leaving this fairly loose for now, so I can come back later and straighten the bars and tighten it down properly. Next, the wheel can go on using a common quick release axle. Simply tighten the nut down until you get to a point where you feel a good amount of resistance when you're closing the lever, but not so much that you're using all of your strength to do it. Then you can take advantage of the stout kickstand and proceed with the rest. I went ahead and put on the seat next. I'll admit that I was perplexed as to why it had this up and down tilting action, but we'll find out later why that is. Similar to the axle, tighten the nut, then close the lever when you find the right amount of tension. This next step is the only thing that is different from any bike I've assembled before, and that's just putting on the fender and the light. Yep, that's right, an integrated headlight since it's an electric bike. So anyway, this is a simple matter of 3 bolts and 1 nut to get this all put on, and I'm sure you could leave it off too if you really wanted to, but I think it gives it a cool, almost motorcycle-like appearance. Anyway, in addition to that headlight, you also have a rear reflector that's integrated nicely into the rear fender. Now with any disc brakes, you're going to have to center the caliper to the disc. They are designed so that they can move in and out, and you just have to find the center point and tighten them down. This can be a little bit tedious and also a little tricky if you've never done it before, but just take your time and look at all the angles to make sure the disc is centered right in the middle of those brake pads. And the other thing I had to do was adjust the brake cable tension. Just 1 pinch bolt to do this so that the brake pads start contacting the rotor as soon as you pull the lever. Now to straightening the bars. The top cap that we put on before, all that does is snug down the headset, and you don't really want to over tighten that or it'll just make it difficult to turn the bars. The 2 stem bolts are really what holds everything together here. Once you've kind of found that center point, you can start tightening those down. I'm using a torque wrench set to 5 Newton meters because it's also important not to over tighten these. The steel bolts can rip out the threads on an aluminum stem if you go crazy on it. This bike does come with pedals, but to be honest, they are really not great. It's a design from like the 1980s, which doesn't offer much grip and also feels very small. But to be fair, some far more expensive bikes don't even come with pedals, and as you'll see later in this video, I'm still able to ride this thing and have fun regardless of these pedals. The battery is located behind the seat tube and requires a key to turn on or to remove. And this is where that tilting seat comes into play, so you can tilt it forward and remove the battery. Simply take it out and plug it in to charge it. So one last satisfying piece of protective film to remove and we can get to riding. Turn the power on to the battery, turn on the screen, and then take a second to admire those nice ergonomic lock-on grips. Then use the up and down arrows to adjust the amount of pedal assist. The first thing I noticed about this bike is how stable the handling is. I think this is due to the long chainstays, since they've had to fit a battery in front of the rear wheel, and this makes the overall wheelbase pretty long. So it isn't a responsive feeling bike by any means, and I think wheelies are completely out of the question. Cornering also feels a little bit weird at first, but you do get used to it. It's almost like the bike just wants to keep going straight. But that fits the nature of this bike since it is a cruiser, and like I said before, it feels extremely stable at speed. Alright, so this is really loose sand. Really soft sand. I don't know how it's going to do it this. Walking this part first. Get to something a little more packed in. Oh yeah, it should do fine in this. Oh yeah. Oh, this thing is awesome. Check this out. I'm freaking flying through the sand. Like insanely fast. Somebody else has obviously been here doing this too, because there's some tire marks. Ooh, a little deeper. Oh, now that's a little challenging still, but we got it. Oh, this is cool. How much better could it be than this? Zoom in. I don't even need that much pedal assist right now. Go down one. Now, let's try out the throttle function. No pedaling, just hit this lever here. And I'm maintaining about 11.5 miles per hour right now. Let's see if we go up an assist level. Throttle still. Now we're up to 13, 14, 15. Holy crap. Oh, this is the best. All right, the throttle feels like it's cheating though. We're gonna go back to pedaling. And we're going to drop the assist to 3. Definitely having to work a bit with the assist on level 3 to maintain the speed of about 12 miles an hour. But that's okay. If I didn't want to work at all, I would get a motorcycle instead. Or a dirt bike. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. All right. Not a lot of people here. Let's go throttle assist high, down a gear. See if we can go through this really soft stuff. Oh yeah, I mean, this is where people take, you gotta have a 4-wheel drive truck to get through this. I am standing to get a little more power in the pedals, but it's doing it. It's drifting a little bit. Oh, I slowed down too much. I think I'm just spinning. I think I'm spinning. We gotta cut. Whoa. So one thing I didn't mention is the drivetrain. It's a Shimano 6-speed with a Tourney derailleur. And while the Tourney is definitely not high end of the Shimano hierarchy, it's nice to see the Shimano name brand here. There are plenty of cheap generic drivetrain manufacturers out there, but Nakto decided to go with something recognizable for quality, and I like that. It only required some minor barrel adjustment, which is pretty common with anything. I mean, the cable stretches a little bit over time. So a couple adjustments on that, and it was going in and out of every gear just fine. Now, for some of the more technical specs as to what's making all this electronic stuff happen, it has a 300-watt hub motor with a 550-watt peak and 45 Newton meters of torque. Now that may not mean a whole lot to you, and it doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but I will say that this thing feels powerful, and as you'll see going through the sand like this, you gotta have some power for that. And it kicks on pretty smooth too. You take a couple pedal strokes, it feels like nothing's happening, and then it kind of gradually kicks in. It's not too harsh or anything like that when that power kicks in. In terms of what's providing the power to that hub motor, it's a 36 volt, 10 amp lithium ion battery. Nakto says this is a long-range battery, and from my personal experience, what I can say, some of this beach riding, I did about 12 miles out and back. Half of that was on the sand, half of it was on some paved path coming back. I would say that most of the time I was in the highest pedal assist level, but by the time I got back, I'd used only about half of the battery. So that's pretty impressive, especially considering that, 6 of those miles going out were really pushing the power from that battery going through that sand. It's a totally different power consumption, I would think, you know, going through that softer sand than just riding on the road or something like that. All right, we got the biggest challenge yet to see if this thing can go up and over the dune. Obviously in a place that it's legal to do so, where they get vehicles on and off of here. So pedal assist, full gear. Let's stay in this one for now. All right, downshift, downshift. No, cannot do it in that soft of sand. So here's one cool feature. If it's so steep or so soft that you can't ride it, still got the throttle, and without your weight on the bike, it will move it. All you really have to do is walk beside it. Let's see if we can go down now. All right. Trick is getting started. All right, here we go. Yes, come on, better motor kick in. Come on. Woo, drifting. Truck coming. Yeah. All right, so I've been back home now for actually about a month or so, and unfortunately the Nakto Cruiser has just pretty much sat in my garage the entire time. Not that I don't like it, I just don't have a really good use for it around here. However, I can see a lot of uses for this bike on like a day-to-day basis. Let's say you lived in an area where you had some good bike lanes, you could use this to commute to work, make it a little bit easier, maybe you get to work a little bit less sweaty. For me, I live in the suburbs and I work in the city, and there are no bike lanes. I don't think I would survive a week without getting hit by a car if I tried to do that. Now, one thing I could do, which I haven't done yet, is just a trip to the store. You know, there's grocery stores and stuff around here where I could be on sidewalks the entire time, and I may do that at some point. But the dilemma is, okay, I'll ride this there. What do I do with the stuff that I get when I come back? I'm sure you could get some sort of rack to go on the back where that back fender is, and that would be awesome. Take some stuff, put in a backpack if you're only getting a few things. But this would be a great bike for something like that too. Also, things like greenways and bike paths. I think this bike would be great if you wanted to do a casual ride where you're not expending too much energy. You know, you're not really out there trying to get hardcore exercise. You're just trying to enjoy the outdoors. And when it comes to actual trail riding, my mountain bike would be much more suitable for that, and that's what I'll go for anytime I'm going for a trail ride, because I like the fact that I'm pushing the pedals manually myself. I like the fact that the mountain bike is lighter. It's just a better suited tool for something like that. But I will say the one thing that I'm very much looking forward to is if we ever get snow around here. Last winter, I don't think we got any, but usually we get some amount of snow. This thing seems like it would be a blast in the snow. It was so fun in the sand. I think these wide tires air down the pressure a little bit more, would give you enough traction in the snow, and even better than just riding it in the snow, since it's an e-bike, it has all that power on tap. I think I could take a rope and tie it to the seat, tie the other end to the sled, and have a ton of fun taking my kids around and share the fun with them as well. Now, if I had to name a few things that I think could be improved on this bike, because let's be honest, no bike is perfect. I talked about the pedals already. For about 20 bucks on Amazon, you can get some pretty decent pedals, and I've already replaced these on here. More grip, and they just feel better under your feet. And the only other thing is the brakes. Now, they are disc brakes, but they're mechanically operated. It just doesn't give you quite as much stopping power as you might want, especially on a bike like this. It's got the battery pack, it's got the big fat tires. It's just a heavy bike, and there's a lot of mass that's moving, and you want to be able to stop. So a hydraulic brake upgrade would be very nice on this bike, but it's not something that I would expect on a bike like this to come stock that way, especially given the $999 price point. Well, I'd like to thank you for watching this video, and I'd especially like to thank Nakto for sending me this bike. I really enjoyed riding it on the beach, and I can't wait to ride it in some snow when that actually happens around here. So if you came here for the e-bike content and you're not one of my usual viewers, I appreciate you stopping by. Check out some of my other videos too if you're interested in some more mountain biking specific content. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.